Welcome to Storytime. In celebration of Valentine's Day, I'm going to tell you one of my favorite love stories in all of gaming. Today we're going to hear the sad, beautiful tale of Shadow of the Colossus. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Wander and a girl named Mono. The two were deeply in love, but it was not to last. Mono was sacrificed by her own people to avoid a cursed fate. Wander could not accept that his love was dead, and he was willing to do anything to get her back. In his grief, his mind went to a legend, one of a forbidden land that had been sealed off in ages past. It was said that there was an old god there, one that was capable of anything, even bringing back the dead. Wander could not stand the fate his love had befallen, and so he decided to go petition the god to return her to the world of the living. He stole the magical sword that was the key to unlocking the seal on the forbidden land, and set out with Mono and his horse Agro. After a long journey, he was able to find the gate that would lead him in. The forbidden land was sprawling and beautiful, a profound sense of quiet blanketing everything. Crossing a massive stone bridge, Wander found himself in a monumental shrine. Flanked by imposing stone idols, he found a pedestal on which to lay Mono. Strange shadows began to seep up from the ground and advance towards Wander, but he vanquished them with the light of his magic blade. It was then that he heard the voice of the old god Dormin, who recognized the ancient sword that he held. Wander begged it to bring Mono back, and it responded with a challenge: to destroy the 16 idols lining the wall. They could not be destroyed by mortal hands, but if Wander were to defeat the colossi that represented them, Dormin could do what he asked. It warned Wander that there was a heavy price to be paid, but Wander's will did not falter even for a moment. He agreed to slay the colossi. The ancient sword reflected the light of the sun, pointing Wander in the correct direction. He journeyed across the forbidden land with Agro, scaling a cliff and entering a small valley. It was there that he beheld the first Colossus. His heart wavered briefly. The size of it dwarfed anything he had imagined. It was an incredible sight, like a man made of stone and grass, with a club that looked as if it could level any keep. The ground shook with each step, the wind whipping by Wander as he thought of Mono and approached the beast. How could a boy defeat such a monster? It seemed impossible a task, but Wander would not be deterred. He grabbed onto its legs, stabbing them until it was put off balance. He painstakingly climbed up, hanging on for dear life as the Colossus attempted to shake him off. His heart beating so loudly, even the Colossus' footsteps could not drown it out. He found a glowing sigil on the thing's head. He plunged his sword into it, a stream of dark miasma flooding out of the puncture. Again and again he attacked, until finally the Colossus gave out, tumbling to the ground with a deafening crash. Wander looked on as the beast dissolved into darkness, ignoring the slight pang in his heart as he watched it die. Black tendrils emerged from the creature, forcing themselves into Wander and causing him to black out. He awoke in the shrine, one of the shadow creatures watching over him. Mono's skin had gained the slightest tinge, the most distant feeling of life. The first idol on the wall crumbled in a flash of light, and Wander realized he felt more powerful, less afraid. Wander knew that this would work. He ventured out once more, and one by one he fought each Colossus. Some he found easily, others lay in remote corners of the valley. Some attacked Wander the moment they saw him, while others seemed oblivious to his existence. Some flew in the air, and some tore through the water. Each one Wander engaged, and each one Wander bested. Every time Wander killed a Colossus, the same black tendrils would enter him and he would wake up in the shrine. Gradually, color and warmth seemed to be returning to Mono's face. Wander felt himself growing even more powerful and even more fearless. If he had begun to notice that his skin was growing ashen and pale, and his hair limp and dark, he did not show it. That same small feeling of sadness lay in the back of Wander's mind still, as he watched the majestic creatures fall. But as he grew stronger, this seemed to grow more and more distant. He could almost hear Mono's voice. He was going to bring her back. As Wander neared the end of his quest, the Forbidden Lands, so long vacant of any men, paid host to several more. Lord Emon, an elder of Wander and Mono's people, had pursued Wander to the valley, knowing what he intended when he stole her body and the sword. After a long and difficult journey, Wander's task was almost at an end. Only one Colossus remained, though it was the largest and most fearsome he had yet seen. The weight of the Colossus took Wander over a bridge, the rocks falling away with age. They began to give out under Agro, and her loyalty to her master led her to throw him off, ensuring he would make it across the chasm. She fell to the river below, and Wander called out to his only companion. For the first time in this nearly empty land, Wander felt truly alone. He could not stop here, though, not so close to his goal, to his love. He engaged the final Colossus, a black figure that seemed impossibly huge. The climb was arduous, and the Colossus was the match of any he had fought thus far, but he had not come this far to fail. He finally ascended to the top of the great beast and slew it. As the black tendrils engulfed him, he smiled. He had succeeded. When he awoke, Lord Emon and his men were inside the shrine. They gasped at his appearance. His skin was sickly and cracked, and he had 2 wicked horns protruding from his head, and the shadow creatures flanked him. Wander could not understand what was happening. He looked towards Mono, but Lord Aemon ordered his guards to attack. He told Wander that Dormin had been using him, and he was now possessed by the dead. A crossbow bolt struck Wander's leg, crippling him before another soldier delivered a killing blow. The same miasma that had spewed from the Colossi emerged from his wound, but he continued to reach forward, desperate to see Mono. The dark mist covered Wander's entire body as he collapsed from his wounds. Mono's eyelids began to flutter slightly as Wander grew into a monstrous shadow beast. Dormin had taken over Wander's body, and told Aemon what the priest already knew. The humans had split Dormin's essence into 16 pieces, sealing them in the Colossi. Now he had been resurrected, using the body of the one who destroyed his prisons. Aemon knew the shrine had to be sealed, and had his soldiers attack Dormin, though he slew them with ease. Aemon grabbed the ancient sword and ascended the temple with his remaining soldiers, casting it down into a pool of water at the center of the shrine. It erupted in light, pulling Dormin's essence away from Wander's body. Back in control, Wander fought desperately against the vortex, trying with all his strength to crawl to his love, to stand next to her, to see her live once more. The pull proved too strong, though, and Wander could not fight it. He was pulled in. The shrine sealed, the bridge leading to the Forbidden Land collapsed, so that none could enter it again. Aemon wondered if Wander could possibly have survived, and if he had, what kind of existence he would have in that cursed land. Perhaps, he mused, if he lived, he could eventually atone for what he had done. Inside the shrine, Mono slowly opened her eyes. Dormin had tricked Wander, but he had not lied about his power. She awoke, confused at her strange surroundings. She was surprised to hear the neighing of a horse. It was Agro, injured but still alive. She limped to Mono, who recognized the horse and began to put together what had happened. Venturing further into the shrine, she found the pool of water, now empty but for a newborn baby with a single horn. Ascending the building with Agro, she found a lush garden, filled with fruit and small, kind animals, the like of which Wander had not seen during his journey. The barren valley had a cradle of life, and it seemed that Mono, Agro, and the young child might be able to live there in peace. As for whether they did or did not, we do not know. This is where our story ends for now.